Hello everyone and welcome to part 2 of our inventory system series. In the first part, we created the add item to the inventory. We successfully add an item, but we don't have a visual widget yet for the inventory. So in this tutorial, we will be creating exactly that. So let's get started. First, go and define your inventory widget. So let's create the widget blueprint, user widget, and let's call it WPP underscore inventory item slot. And this widget will be responsible for to display the item only and not the actual inventory. So only the item that we have in the inventory. Okay, so let's go ahead first and drag and drop a size box, and let's make this desired on screen. Then for the size box, let's override the width and the height to be 175, 175. Then we need an overlay. Let's drop this here, and we need a border. Let's fill this, and we need an image inside the border, and we need a text to display how many items we have of it, how much we have. So on top of overlay. Okay, let's call this border rarity border and make it a variable. And for the image, we don't need it to be a variable actually. And for the text box, also we don't need it. Okay, so now let's make this text box on bottom right. So bottom right, and give it a default value of 0. Padding to the right 5, regular 30 and 2. Okay, great. Now in here, we need to create some variables, but before, let's override the event construct and get the rarity border and set texture brush from texture. Okay, and this rarity border is responsible to show the proper image for the item rarity. So if it's common, it will show green. If it's uncommon, if it's common, show gray. If it's uncommon, show green, and epic blue, and so on. So the texture we want is we don't have it now. So let's go and import all our rarity images. So go ahead and create a folder here called item inventory or item rarity, and import your images. I will leave a link in the description for all these images. Okay, and since we are importing images, let's also import the image for the item for the potion. I will also leave a link in the description. Okay, and that's the potion image. Now let's close this and go back to our inventory slot widget. And in here, we need to create a map, and let's call it rarity to texture. And it's of type rarity, the enum created. And let's make it a map. And the second one is texture to the. Okay, let's make this private. Okay, let's make this components. And in here, let's add everything. So for the maps, we cannot add a new key while a key of the same value already exists. So now we are trying to add a new element, but it's failing because we already have a comment. By default, it will add a comment. Okay, so for that reason, we need to start from backwards. So first start from legendary, then we add an epic, then we add a rare, then we add an uncommon, then we add the comment. So for the legendary, we want the legendary image, the gold one. For the epic, we want the epic, rare, uncommon, and common. Okay, now in here, we need to get the rarity, and we need to find the item rarity, the actual item rarity. So first, let's make a branch here. If we found one true, then we need to set this texture that we found. And for the rarity, we need to pass it as a parameter. Let's call it item rarity. And this will be private, expose on spawn, and instance editable. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, and by default, let's make the border draw as rounded box. Let's make it fixed radius. Let's give it a corner of 5 and outline of 4, and make the outline black. Okay, now for the image, by default, let's give it the potion image. Okay, this image is transparent, it has no background. And for the rarity border, also let's give it a common or uncommon value, default value. Great. And this, let's give it 1, for example. Great. Now we need to actually, when we construct this item slot, we need to actually set the proper image and the proper rarity and the proper text. And for that reason, we need to create 3 variables. The first one is a text. No, let's call it item quantity. And it's of type integer. And we make it private, expose on spawn, and instance editable. Let's make it single, not a female. And here, for this text, we need to bind this item quantity for it. Then, for the texture, we also need to create a texture, the same way we created the quantity integer. So, item image, texture 2D, this is editable, expose on spawn, and private. And for the image, let's set this item image. Okay, now we're done with this item inventory item slot. Now let's go ahead and create the actual inventory widget. So here, widget, new user widget, WP underscore inventory. And for the inventory, we need a canvas panel. We need a border. Let's align it to the right, 0, 0, 0. Let's make it 45% here, 45% on top and bottom. And offset left 0, offset top 0, 50, 50, and 50. Okay. Now for the brush color, let's make it 0, 0, 0.12, 0, 0.26, and here 0, 0.7 or 0, 0.75. Then inside of this border, we need a wrap box, and we need a vertical box inside of it. Let's make it fill. And inside this, we need a wrap box and a horizontal box. And let's wrap the wrap box with a scroll box. Let's make it fill. And make this one fill as well, 0.4. And scroll box, let's give it a padding 10, 20, 10, like this. And here, let's give it a padding of 5. Now we can tweak this value however you like. Let's make the scroll box also a variable. Okay, components. And what else do we need? Let's make this fill, so it fills the scroll box, and let's make it horizontal alignment to center and vertical, the orientation, and let's give it inner slope padding of 20 by 20. Great. Now let's create a function here. Let's call it update inventory UI. Okay, and in here we need to get the component, the inventory component of our character player, and we need to get the slots of it, everything we have, and we need to create, based on the slots, we need to create this inventory item slot and add it to the wrap box. Okay, so first in the event construct, let's get the player character, sorry, and find get component by class, and the component is inventory, and let's promote it to a variable, inventory component. Let's make it private. Now in here, let's get this, and if it's valid, we need to get slots. Yeah, the slot is private, so let's create a function, get slots. Let's make it constant pure, and it returns the slot, inventory slot array. Okay, so now get slots, and for each slot, we need to check if it's empty or not, if the slot is empty or not. So we do this by checking the quantity. If it's bigger than 0, then it's not empty. Then we create widget, inventory item slot, and the item rarity is, we break this, we plug the rarity, the quantity is the quantity here. Okay, the image is the image, and that's it. Let's hide everything else. Then we add this to a wrap box, but we need the wrap box to be a variable. So add child. Okay, but first here, if it's not valid, let's do a return node. And before we start the loop, just a second. Before we start the loop, we need to make sure the wrap box is empty, so it doesn't stack. So the slots don't stack on top of each other. Not on top of each other, sorry. They don't stack below each other. So it's always 20 slots, or the capacity of our inventory. Okay. Okay, now it should work. Okay, so let's go into our main HUD, main widget. So widgets, WP HUD, and let's add the inventory widget here. Let's make it fill 0, 0, and there it is. And by default, let's make it collapsed, and let's hide it from here. This image, we don't need it. Now let's go into our inventory component, and in here we need to create a function that updates the inventory UI every time you add a new item to it. Okay, so put it into public, and we simply let's create a variable inventory widget reference, and this will hold the reference for our widget. So inventory WP inventory private and category it's private. Okay, now let's get this, and if it's valid, we need to call update inventory UI. Okay, now let's go back into our interactables, into our inventory item base, and here after we add, if we add it successfully, we need to update. So update inventory UI from the component, from the inventory component. Great. However, right now this value is empty. This variable is empty. It doesn't have a value. So let's create an event that sets this inventory widget. So set inventory widget ref, and let's set this and plug this into parameters as a parameter. Now when we get the component class, if it's valid, we need to set the reference. No, set inventory widget ref to self. Now this will hold this inventory that we have, inventory widget. Okay. Now let's go to let's create an input, actions, and copy paste this, and let's call it toggle inventory. And in here, pressed IMC default, toggle inventory, and I want to toggle it with the B button. Okay, now let's go into our player controller, where we created this HUD. Now if we create it somewhere else, we can just go to that place, and what we need is a reference to this HUD actually. Okay, so wherever you have a reference, a variable for this HUD, whether it's player controller or player character, go ahead and create your IA here. So IA toggle inventory, add on triggered. Let's promote this to a variable. So HUD, and get HUD if it's valid. Let's make a flip-flop. Get inventory, WP inventory, set visibility, visible, and for B, collapsed. Okay, now if we start the game and we press B, as you can see, we can toggle it on and off. However, it's empty because let's try and pick an item. Yeah, as you can see, now it shows the item. However, if it's empty, we want it to show empty slots, right? So let's go and create a widget. Let's duplicate this actually. Empty inventory slot. Okay, open it up and remove everything from here and get a border. And for this border, let's make it rounded box also, fixed radius and 5, outline 1, black, opacity 1, and width 4. And for the brush color, let's make it 0.3. Okay. Now here, remove everything and delete all of this. We don't really need it. We simply need this. Now let's close this and go back to our inventory where we create this. We need to check if the quantity is empty, if the slot is empty. So if it's empty, we create this widget, this empty slot widget, and we also add it to the wrap box. Okay. Also, let's go to our potion class, and in here for the image, let's set the potion image. Now, if you start the game and you press B, it also doesn't work, and that's because we never called. Let's close everything here. We never called the update UI yet. We only call it when we pick up the item. So as you can see, only when we pick up the item it's called. So we need to make sure it's called whenever we toggle the inventory to be visible. Whenever it's visible, we update the inventory so it's up to date always. But now I noticed that it's stepping in the wrong direction. We need to wrap it vertically, sorry. So let's go to our inventory, and inside the wrap box, let's set this to horizontal. Now it should work. Yeah, okay. But there's a few things we need to do here still. Inside event construct, let's make a sequence here. Not here. After if it's valid, make a sequence. Okay, and in here we need to assign on visibility changed. So whenever the visibility is changed, switch on C-state visibility. So we only care about visible and collapse. So whenever it's visible, we need to update the inventory UI, and we need to get the player controller, and we need to set show mouse cursor true, and we need to set input mode game and UI widget to focus self. And on collapsed, we want to invert this. Actually, we can just collapse this to a function. Let's call it change input settings. Okay, and show mouse cursor parameter. And here, let's remove this. Let's make a branch. So if show mouse cursor, we need to set the input game mode game and UI. And if not, we need to set it to game only. Okay, and here on visible, we need to show the mouse cursor, and on collapse, we hide the mouse cursor. Okay, let's try it now. If I press B now, as you can see, it creates empty slot. And if you pick up the item, it updates to pick up the item. Okay, and I noticed that if I scroll to the end and I hide it, then unhide it, it's still in the end. So let's go here. And when we collapse it, we need to get the scroll box and set start, set scroll to start. Yeah, scroll to start. Now it will scroll to start every time. Yeah, as you can see. Okay. Now what we need to do here still. Now let's test out something if the stack works or not. So let's duplicate this. Okay, and let's go to our blueprint inventory base. I want to add a rotating movement. Let's make this 90 or 100. And I also want to check the potion, how many stacks we can have. 3 stacks. Okay. Okay, so now if I pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's pick everything, and we open the inventory. As you can see, it has a stack of 3, and stack of 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see. Now if I pick up one more and one more, that's 2 stacks. 1, 1. Okay, so it's working perfectly fine as intended. Now let's try and change the rarity of this to common or to legendary. And if I pick it up, it should be gold. Yeah, as you can see, it's gold. Okay, so that's it for this tutorial. In the next part, we will be creating the inventory rearrangement. If I want to set this to here or rearrange the inventory. Okay, so thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you next part.